Just got to give the stream a second or two here. Make sure that everything is nice and stable all across the YouTube platform. Get some people streaming on in here. Welcome in, Broncos country, to the Denver Broncos Syndicate live stream of Denver Broncos versus Indianapolis Colts preseason week 1. We finally made it. Broncos football is officially back. Today is going to be a really exciting day. We're going to finally get our first look at Bo Nix in a full Broncos uniform in live game action. We're going to get our first look at what this team really is going to look like and what I'm going to call the first true year of the Sean Payton era. It's hard to count last season because of everything that went wrong and everything that was just being held back because of Russell Wilson. So now we get the chance to see how Sean Payton really wants to run things and really wants to operate things. I'm super excited, guys. We've already got a couple people in here. We've got Staunch Patriots saying ready to go. We got Graham in here saying woo. I am so excited, guys. We kind of did a game preview already yesterday, but today we're going to kind of go through some of the same stuff we talked about yesterday, just what to look for in today's game. I am so excited, man. I think you can already tell just it's hard to contain the excitement. We've got D-Rock in the house. We've got Chill Guy in the house. We've got Rayanne in the house, an old face. Good to see you, Rayanne. All right, guys, so some of the top things that I'm going to be looking for in this game, we'll kind of break it down position by position, starting, of course, with the quarterback position. The rotation for today's game is going to be Bo Nix with the 2s. Jarrett Stidham is going to start, but Bo Nix could get some time with the 1s as well, depending on how the reps work out per Sean Payton. Then Zach Wilson will work with the 3s. The starters are expected to play about 15 to 20 snaps. The backups a little bit more, but mostly we're going to see the Broncos' third stringers today. Next week against the Green Bay Packers is when things might get a little bit more ramped up and we might see the starters with Bo Nix in there with the starting group for an extended period of time. Jay says UK in the house. Good to see you, Jay. Basketball Olympics on fire. Glad we won. Yeah, that was really fun to watch. That was fun. I'm not going to lie. I was kind of rooting for Nikola Jokic and Serbia there, but obviously once they were eliminated, there's so many stars on Team USA. It's just hard not to root for those guys. But I'm a Denver Nuggets fan through and through. I'm going to root for Nikola Jokic. He's the best basketball player in the world. But pivoting back to the quarterback conversation, what am I going to be looking for with Jarrett Stidham with the 1s? I want to see him go out there and just run a crisp, clean, efficient operation. I want to see the Broncos move the ball, get a couple of first downs, couple good runs, couple nice completions. Even if they don't score on their opening drive, I just want to see them get their feet wet and move the ball a little bit and just be able to efficiently execute. Even if it stalls out, I'm okay with that, as long as the next drive they do come back and get some points on the board. So I'm obviously going to be looking for Jarrett Stidham to master the pre-snap operation at the line of scrimmage, identify the Mike linebacker, make sure everybody is aligned, make sure that he gets the cadence correct, all that stuff that I've been preaching about pre-snap, just being on the right page. That is something Jarrett Stidham is already good at. So I'm not going to be really paying attention to that with him because I already know he has that down. When Bo Nix gets in there with the 2s, that's something I'm going to be watching because he has also pretty much displayed that he's got it down in camp, but I want to see how it goes, obviously, against a different team with a different defensive scheme. Different guys are going to line up in different spots, so I want to see how Bo Nix just handles the mental processing at the line of scrimmage, setting the protection, getting everybody aligned, identifying the mic, all of that stuff. He's done a really good job of it so far this offseason, but I want to see that continue in game situation. And the same thing for Zach Wilson, who has struggled with it. Will he be able to get better with that kind of stuff? That's what I will be watching most closely for sure. All right. Rayanne says, like the new setup, can you guys give a link where we can buy that sign in the background? Yes. It's in the previous video that I had. I don't think I put it in this one, but the link will be in the game stream that I do later today. So you can either go in my previous video or you can just look at the game stream that I've already set up. The link is there. And use my code BS15 to save $15 off. Graham says minimize mistakes. That's another thing. Of course, we want to make sure that we don't have any stupid penalties, no pre-snap penalties especially. We don't want false starts. We don't want guys jumping off sides on defense. Stay disciplined, watch the ball, don't listen to the cadence, just watch the ball. That is how you avoid pre-snap penalties like that, is just watch the ball. Or if you're on the offensive line, make sure you know that you're on one or you're on two or whatever the snap count is. Don't question the snap count. If you have to ask the quarterback again what the snap count is, do it. Because we don't want any stupid penalties that are going to put you behind the chains. That's what false starts do. That's what jumping off sides does on defense. So that is something that mentally we just want to eliminate those errors. And naturally, they're going to be there. It's preseason football, but the least amount of it possible would be ideal. I remember the Denver Broncos in the preseason in 2022, they were getting penalized left and right because that team had absolutely no discipline under Nathaniel Hackett. Last year, it wasn't quite as bad. Sean Payton in his second year, I anticipate it to be an even cleaner, crisper operation, especially with a new quarterback in there that is a little bit more masterful of the offense and knows how Sean Payton wants things executed. We got Rodney in the house saying, good morning, Gage. Go Broncos. Keep up the great work. We've got Tim has 7 kids in the house saying, free Bo Nix. We got Jared in the house saying, Callie tuned in. Let's see. Most importantly, beat the Seahawks week 1. We want our revenge for last year. Oh, yeah, man. Trust me. We've got a long time between now and then. But, of course, the ultimate goal is to be ready to go for that week 1 game. And some of that will be through this week, getting some of that preparation in. Obviously, this is going to be the only time that we travel during the preseason, so just getting set with travel routine and stuff like that, that's all going to be practiced or has been practiced when the Broncos traveled out to Indianapolis. I'm also going to be looking in terms of when Bo Nix gets in there, how aggressive is Sean Payton going to be with his play calling? First off, is he going to give Bo Nix some quick, easy completions just to get him comfortable? Maybe a couple of screen passes, a couple of quick out routes, a quick sit route, just some quick, easy reads. And after that, will he be aggressive in testing downfield? Bo Nix has shown a high ability to manipulate safeties with his eyes. That's why I feel like Sean Payton will be comfortable airing out the rock, especially if the Colts were to dare play some press man coverage. That's when Bo Nix could seriously show off that deep ball to guys like Troy Franklin, maybe Marvin Mims if he's still in there, or a Devon Vele. Keep an eye on that. How aggressive is Bo Nix going to be in these games? Consistency is key for Bo Nix, and offense O-line do their job. Absolutely. The offensive line, honestly, they've looked really good in training camp so far. I'm going to be keeping an eye, of course, on the center battle between Luke Wattenberg and Alex Forsyth. It looks like Wattenberg has that job pretty secure right now, but Forsyth has also played well in camp, and he has been a good challenger for Luke Wattenberg. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on that position battle. I'm also going to be keeping an eye on Ben Powers at the left guard position because he did have some struggles early on at camp. It's gotten better, but obviously Ben Powers has been heavily scrutinized as being one of the weak links on this offensive line. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on him just to see if those struggles from camp don't carry over into the preseason games, kind of like they did last year in that first preseason game against the Arizona Cardinals where Ben Powers struggled mightily. I'm going to definitely be keeping an eye on him, but Bowles and McGlinchey have both looked good, and then obviously there's no concern at all with Quinn Miners. So offensive line, I think, is going to play well. When the second team offensive line gets in there, I'm going to be watching the 2 swing tackles, Matt Peart and Alex Palczewski, to see which of those 2 guys really separates themselves and they can be the top swing tackle for the Denver Broncos. Right now, I think Alex Palczewski is the leader in that clubhouse, but Parrott has, again, also had a comparatively solid camp. So we're going to see which one of those two players really separates themselves. I know they like Parrott more on the left side and Palczewski more on the right side, so maybe they just roll with both of them, and in the event that, God forbid, Garrett Bowles goes down, then they could slide in Matt Parrott at left tackle, or if Mike McGlinchey goes down, they could slide in Alex Palczewski at right tackle. Rodney says stay healthy. Absolutely. The Broncos have to stay healthy in this game. That's just a key for any team going into a preseason game is don't get hurt. Take guys out if you feel like they got good looks on the first drive. You don't want to leave your starters in there for unnecessary reps at the end of the day and then risk a guy blowing out an ACL or blowing out an Achilles or busting his shoulder. That's just unnecessary risk. So you want to try to minimize injuries and get your key guys out as soon as you feel like they've gotten good looks. So, obviously, a key for this game is going to be minimize injuries and just stay healthy. If they can stay healthy, I will call that the biggest win of the day, no matter what happens in the game. I'm hyped. New season, new quarterback, fresh legs, no more Russell Wilson, LFG Broncos. Love it, man. Absolutely love it. I don't know who you are, but I've been a Broncos fan since 1962, and I went through lean years when we lost a lot of games. Respect to you, man. You definitely went through the tough years of Denver Broncos football. I'm not going to lie, I'm not the greatest with Broncos history pre-1983, pre-John Elway, but I do know that those were very tough times for this franchise, so respect to you for going through that. Really excited to see Estime and McLaughlin getting reps in. And that is a good transition to our next topic here because Audric Estime and Jaleel McLaughlin both have a chance to really solidify their roles with this team and make Samaje Perine expendable. If Estime and McLaughlin can both fill the role that Samaje Perine fills, then the Broncos could easily move on from Perine and save $3.5 million. Estime, of course, is more of that power back, more of that bruiser. He's a guy who can catch passes out of the backfield. He's very reliable on third downs in pass protection as well as a pass catching option. Jaleel McLaughlin brings all that pass catching stuff as well, but with his small 5'9" frame, he's not exactly a guy you want in there to pass block. So if Estime can fill the role of kind of the pass blocker, and then Jaleel can fill the role of sort of that scat back, maybe Darren Sproles type player, then I could easily see Samaje Perine being expendable. Perine has to showcase in this preseason why the Broncos would be foolish to move on from him. He's got to showcase that he fills a key role on this team that the Broncos would be foolish to move on from. That's the key for Samaje Perine to still make this team. And as far as Javonte Williams is concerned, I'm looking to see if that burst and explosiveness, which has been back throughout the course of training camp, is still there in a live game situation. I hope it is, because if so, then Javonte Williams, I will say, is pretty much all the way back from his injury, which he definitely was far away from last year. Javonte's looked great in camp so far. I don't know how much Javonte we're going to see in this particular game. I think we might see more of him next week against Green Bay. But Javonte has looked awesome, and I'm hoping to see him have at least one or two explosive runs in this game. We've got Crumble Cookies in the house saying, "What's up, Gage? How you doing, man? Good to see you. Good to see you." Is Williams going to be the starter? Yes, Williams is going to be the starter at running back for the Denver Broncos. He has definitely solidified that over the course of camp and has alleviated all concerns that I had about Javonte Williams heading into this offseason. During OTAs and minicamp, he was sluggish, he was stiff, he looked like he was running with cinder blocks tied to the bottom of his cleats. He just didn't look good. He's lost weight over the course of the offseason. He's lost about 11 pounds, and you can tell he's a lot more explosive. He's running more gracefully. His foot are a lot more light and clean. His cuts are clean and crisp. He just looks like a much more well-rounded running back now that that weight is gone. Will you be streaming the game, Rayanne says? Yes, I sure will be. We'll be going live at about 10:50 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. We're probably going to hang out here for another 15 minutes. I still got to get a few more things set up. as far as like the TV is concerned for the game, but we'll be hanging out here for probably another 15 minutes or so. And then to finally round out the running back room a little bit, Blake Watson, he's a guy who is very intriguing, especially as another one of those like scat back type players. He's got a similar build as Jaleel McLaughlin. The problem with Watson is he missed the early part of training camp with an injury, and he kind of looked a little rusty at first coming back, dropping some passes, missing his assignment, not lining up in the right spot. That's kind of been an issue with Blake Watson, some of these mental errors early on. Will those be cleaned up in this game? I imagine we could see a lot of Blake Watson today, just because the Broncos are going to be rolling out a lot of third string, fourth string, fifth string players in this game. Starters and backups are only anticipated to see about 15 to 20 snaps each. So I think Watson's going to have ample opportunity to impress in this game. The question is, will he do that? Moving into the wide receiver position now, will Mims be able to have an explosive play? He's obviously learning a new position right now, turning into sort of that Z receiver for the Denver Broncos, the role that Jerry Jeudy filled last season. He's now gotten to a point where the Broncos really need him to step up, and he has done that in camp. Will he have a big explosive catch? What will he look like in this new role in this offense with the live bullets flying in-game action? That is something I'm going to be keeping an eye on. Tim Patrick, he's kind of been a little bit on the roster bubble because Devon Vele has emerged as somebody who is almost like a younger, more explosive version of Tim Patrick. He's almost like the next upgraded model from Tim Patrick, if you will. But the Broncos also covet Tim Patrick's veteran leadership. They covet what he brings in the locker room, and they love just who he is as a person. They don't want to lose that, but at the same time, if you're not producing on the field, then you have to make those tough decisions. I love Tim Patrick, and I don't want him to go anywhere. So I want him to stand out and separate himself in this game. I want him to, almost like Samaje Perine, showcase why it would be stupid for the Denver Broncos to move on. I don't think the Broncos should move on, but there's been conversations about that possibly happening. There have been. So I think Tim Patrick is going to have to really seize this opportunity in the preseason because we all want him to still be here. We do. But he's got to go out there and showcase that he's going to fill a role on this offense. And right now, guys like Devon Vele have looked more impressive in training camp and has, again, almost looked like the upgraded model from Tim Patrick. So Timmy P, going to be looking at you very closely in these preseason games. Also, again, Devon Vele, we just talked about him. Will he have one of those contested catches that he's had pretty much every single day in training camp? What's his role going to be? What's he going to look like in his NFL debut? I'm really excited for Devon Vele. I think he's going to draw a lot of attention in this game, and he's going to really stand out, and I wouldn't be surprised if Devon Vele has a couple of touchdowns in this game. Just keep an eye on that for sure. In my opinion, this is the deepest wide receiver and running back room we've had in years. I would definitely agree just in terms of the sheer volume of depth. In the wide receiver room, obviously Courtland Sutton's your number one, but is he a true number one receiver in the NFL? That remains to be seen, but there's just so much depth in that room. Same with the running back position where Javonte Williams definitely looks like the alpha. It's just really good to see the Broncos actually having depth. This team hasn't had good depth in a long time. That is how you are able to survive injuries, is if you have good depth. And the Broncos were really lucky with injuries last year. This year, hopefully they will be, but history will indicate that it's not going to be that good. So they're going to have to probably depend on some of these backups to step up in some role this season. I'm just glad that the Broncos have prioritized having multiple guys who could step in and fill that role efficiently. That's why it is key to have depth on an NFL team. We saw the Buffalo Bills play in the preseason yesterday where their starters look pretty decent out there, but they have virtually no depth to speak of on their roster. The Broncos have pretty well-rounded depth in almost every single position, but wide receiver and running back are definitely some of the ones that we're keeping an eye on. It's going to be surreal seeing Tim Patrick back on the field. It really is. And you know it's going to be an emotional moment for him. First time hitting the field in 2 years. I think it's going to trigger a lot of emotions for Timmy P for sure. And I'm just really excited for him to get that moment. And again, I'm really hoping that he runs away with this opportunity in the preseason and really showcases why he still needs to be on this roster. I want to see Vele moss someone this game, absolutely, and I think he's going to. Keep an eye on him, especially in the end zone, to moss somebody. Congrats on 3.92 subs. Been seeing you grow every day. I'm glad you deserve it. Thank you so much, Rayanne. I really appreciate that. I want to see an Abrams Drain interception. That would also be fun. Abrams Drain is somebody who has looked like a rookie in camp, but he's also showcased why he was drafted. He's showcased that natural talent, that natural ball hawking ability, but sometimes he gets a little bit aggressive with jumping routes and it gets him beat. So Chris Abrams Drain's a guy that I love. I was super excited when the Broncos drafted him. He needs a little bit of time to marinate, but these are going to be very valuable reps for him. Franklin and Bo Nix together in a game again. That's going to be really fun to watch. I don't know how much snaps they're going to get together because Franklin's mostly been working with the third team offense, and that's who we're mostly going to see today. I think it's going to be mostly Zach Wilson today. The starters are going to get about 15 to 20 snaps with Jarrett Stidham in there. Bo Nix might rotate in with the starters for a couple of snaps, and then Bo will get probably about 25 to 30 snaps, and then the rest of the way, it's going to be Zach Wilson and the threes. Gotta go, enjoy the game. I'll join the live later. Sounds good, Rayanne. Fight for Freedom says Broncos are back, baby. I'm not ready to go there quite yet. Obviously, this is a very young team. It's an inexperienced team, but they've got the coaching, and coaching can take you very far in the NFL, and if Bo Nix is indeed the guy, then obviously the quarterback carousel is finally stopped, and it's only up to go from here. I feel like last year we had such a roller coaster where we hit rock bottom, then we're at the mountaintop with that 5-game winning streak, and then hit rock bottom again with that Patriots loss. So I don't know, man. I think this year we're not going to see as many of those valleys. We're going to see more of the peaks that we saw. I think we could still see like a 3-4 game win streak for the Broncos this year. Defensively, they're still going to play that same aggressive brand of football that they played during the 5-game win streak. A lot more man coverage, a lot more press, a lot more just getting in your face. That's something that is going to, again, be really, really key to forcing turnovers. And that's how the Broncos were able to sustain that 5-game win streak, was through turnovers. I anticipate that those turnovers are going to come again this year, especially with guys like J.L. Skinner starting to step into almost like this dime backer role for the Denver Broncos as soon as Brandon Jones gets healthy. P.J. Locke, Jaquan McMillan, of course Pat Surtain back there. And then it's a really interesting battle at the second boundary corner spot between Riley Moss and Damari Mathis. A tweet came out from Benjamin Albright today that said that Riley Moss is running away with it, but I wouldn't necessarily agree with that based on what I've seen in camp. Riley's played good, but Damari Mathis has been a good challenger for him. Mathis has looked really good in camp. He's not making those same mental errors that he did early on, especially last season where he was jumping routes and not in a good way. He was jumping the double move, and then they'd get him behind. He was making just various mental errors in man coverage, making the wrong decision. We're not seeing that from Damari Mathis. We're seeing him actually be a ball hawking camp, making plays. So Damari Mathis is a guy that I think is going to be a really good challenger for Riley Moss for this battle for the second boundary corner spot. Levi Wallace was anticipated to be a part of this battle as well, but when the Broncos released their initial depth chart, it was Riley Moss or Damari Mathis listed as the starter at the second boundary corner spot, not Levi Wallace. Wallace got injured early on in camp with a hammy, and he hasn't been back since. Before he got injured, he was playing some good ball, though, so if Levi Wallace can get back healthy, maybe he can integrate himself into this mix. How's Turner Yell been in camp? He is not participating yet. He's still coming off of his torn ACL, so he is not on the field yet. Jaquan McMillan, man, he has also been a guy, just like Rodney says here, he's been a guy who has been awesome in camp. He might be like the next star nickel for the Denver Broncos. He could have almost like that Chris Harris Jr. trajectory. I'm not ready to say that he's the next Chris Harris Jr., obviously, but he could have sort of that similar rise up the ranks that Chris Harris Jr. did. The sky's the limit for Jaquan McMillan. He is a film junkie. He is a ball knower through and through, and smart players like that have a really high ceiling in the NFL. Devon Key, I've heard some great things on him. Yes, Devon Key has been awesome in camp. He has been one of the starters that's been rotating in with J.L. Skinner for Brandon Jones, who has been out with a hamstring injury. And Devon Key has been around the ball, making PBUs. He's gotten a couple of interceptions in camp, or at least one interception that I know for sure. He's been really, really good about reading the ball and attacking the ball. That's something that, as a safety, you love to see. So Devon Key, really excited about him, and it's because of guys like Devon Key and J.L. Skinner stepping up that the Denver Broncos felt comfortable moving on from Caden Stearns. Stearns was then claimed off waivers by the Panthers, but they failed his physical. They felt that he just wasn't quite healthy enough for them. He then went up to Philadelphia and actually signed a deal with Philadelphia. I don't know if he's taken his physical up there yet, but he's now reunited both with Vic Fangio and Christian Parker, his former DB's coach. So good for Caden Stearns, but guys like Devon Key and J.L. Skinner have made Caden Stearns expendable here in Denver. I'm also going to be watching both of those guys. I think they're both going to get significant snaps today. Really excited about the potential of our two young safeties in J.L. Skinner and Devon Key. Finally, guys, I'm going to be keeping an eye on the punter competition because we got a little bit of a battle there between Riley Dixon and Trenton Gill. I think Gill's actually looked like the better punter so far in training camp. So I think Gill has that high ceiling. He can also kick off. So if the Broncos wanted to do some kind of crazy kickoff with the new rules, they could put Gill in there to do it as opposed to Will Lutz. I think Trenton Gill has the advantage over Riley Dixon right now. But Riley Dixon is still under contract for another year with the Denver Broncos. We'll see what happens, but right now I think Trenton Gill is the better punter of the two based on what I have seen in training camp. Anyone know what channel is this supposed to be on, or am I needing cable? So if you're here in Denver, it's going to be on channel 20, I believe the My Colorado channel or whatever it is, the secondary channel for 9 News. I don't have that because I have YouTube TV, so I'm actually going to have to stream the game off of 9news.com, which you can do, but I don't know if you have to be in the Denver area to do that. If you're outside the Denver area, it will be on NFL Network, but the downside to that is it'll be the Indianapolis Colts broadcast as opposed to the Broncos broadcast. So if you guys want to hear the Broncos version of the broadcast, tune in to my stream if you're outside the Denver area, and you guys will be able to get audio from the Denver Broncos version of the broadcast. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. We will be going live here in about 30 minutes or 20 minutes actually for the game streams at about 10:50 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. Just got to go get a couple of things set up, and we will be good to go for that. All right, Broncos country, before we dip out of here, if you could do me a big favor and leave a like on this stream as well as subscribe to the channel, I would really appreciate it. Those are both free and easy ways to show your support for the channel. It helps tell YouTube's algorithm to push us out and helps us get seen by more and more members of Broncos country just like you and me. Thank you so much to D-Rock, A, Rodney, Crumble Cookies, Mickey, Rayanne, Jay, Fight for Freedom, Manny, and everybody else who tuned in, David as well. Thank you guys so much, and until next time, I'm your host,